The old Cedar Grove textile factory stood like a wounded beast on the edge of town, its broken windows and rusted doors staring out into the emptiness. On most days, the place felt forgotten, a relic left for weeds and shadows. But today, the wind carried a strange, broken sound. It wasn't just the groan of steel or the hush of wind through the broken roof. Beneath it all, something softer, almost pleading. "Mommy, did you hear that?" Ava's tiny hand tugged at Jaime Miller's sleeve. Jaime, 34, athletic but tired in her jeans and hiking boots, glanced down at her daughter with a patient smile. 4-year-old Ava was always hearing things: a cat on a roof, a bird no one else could see. "What is it, honey?" Jaime adjusted her grip on the flashlight, scanning the gloomy corners. Ava didn't answer. Instead, she walked ahead, shoes crunching on broken glass, head cocked like she was listening for a secret. Jaime's nerves prickled. She didn't like bringing Ava to places like this, but exploring the town's history was their Saturday ritual. Besides, after the rough year they'd had, the divorce, the move, the silence that sometimes fell over Ava like a thick blanket, these little adventures seemed to bring her daughter back to life. There it was again. This time Jaime heard it too. A faint whimper buried under layers of echo and dust. She froze, heart suddenly pounding. It didn't sound human, but it didn't sound safe either. Ava crouched low, pressing her ear to a cracked section of wall. "Mommy, someone's trapped. I can feel it." Jaime's skepticism faded, replaced by a cold rush of worry. She knelt beside Ava, feeling the chill of the concrete through her jeans. The sound, yes, there, like a cry for help, but ragged and thin. "We should go," Jaime said, but Ava shook her head. "No, we have to help. Please, Mommy." Jaime hesitated, torn between caution and something fierce in Ava's eyes, a conviction she hadn't seen since before everything changed. They followed the sound. Jaime's hands trembled as she pushed aside a half-collapsed shelf and swung the flashlight beam behind a cracked wall. The whimper came again, weaker now. Jaime's breath caught in her throat. "Ava, stand back." She tested the wall. It was crumbling. Maybe they could break through. Jaime looked around, found a rusted metal pipe, and started hammering at the weakest spot. The clang echoed through the factory. Dust filled the air. Ava pressed her palms over her ears, but didn't step away. After a few desperate minutes, the concrete finally gave way. Jaime dropped the pipe, panting, and aimed the flashlight through the jagged hole. At first, she saw nothing but darkness. Then, movement, a flash of fur, eyes wide and wild, caught in the beam. Oh my God. Curled in the dirt, so thin Jaime could count every rib, was a German shepherd. The dog's coat, once black and gold, was now a mess of mud, dried blood, and fleas. One ear was torn, and its left hind leg stuck out at an awkward angle. It tried to lift its head, but failed. All it could do was let out another weak, broken bark. Ava knelt by the opening, eyes shining. "It's okay. We're here now." The dog flinched as Jaime reached in, but Ava's voice seemed to calm it. The whimper faded, replaced by the slow, heavy sound of labored breathing. "Buddy," Ava whispered. "His name is Buddy." Jaime blinked. "How do you—" "He told me," Ava said softly, pressing her tiny hand against the concrete. Jaime's skepticism returned for a moment, but only for a moment. The dog's eyes, intelligent, pleading, met hers. Whatever the reason, Ava's presence seemed to make the dog relax. Jamie scanned the dog's body, searching for wounds. There was a deep gash across its side, likely infected, Its paws were raw and bloody, nails cracked from trying to dig its way out. "Stay with him, sweetheart. I'll call for help." She fumbled with her phone, dialing the town's animal rescue. Every minute waiting felt like an hour. The wind picked up, rattling the walls, but inside their tiny circle, time seemed suspended. Ava whispered softly to Buddy, repeating his name like a lullaby. Jaime watched, fighting back tears. She'd never seen Ava connect like this, not even with other children. The dog's eyes fluttered closed, but each time Ava spoke, his ears twitched. Finally, footsteps echoed through the factory. Dr. Leah Patel, a local vet and one of Jaime's old friends, burst in, followed by her assistant carrying a medical kit. "Oh, God," Dr. Patel breathed. "He's barely alive." Working quickly, they checked Buddy's pulse, cleaned his wounds, and set up an IV drip. Jaime held Ava back as the assistant tried to lift the dog onto a stretcher. Buddy whimpered in pain, but Ava stepped forward, pressing her palm gently to his forehead. "It's okay, Buddy," she said. "We're not leaving you." The dog stilled, breathing evening out just enough for Dr. Patel to work. As they wheeled Buddy out, Ava grabbed Jaime's hand. "He's going to live, Mommy. I know it." Jaime squeezed her daughter's hand, feeling the first spark of hope she'd felt in months. Outside, the sky was bruised and cold, but as the ambulance doors closed, a strange warmth lingered between the three of them. A mother, a daughter, and a dog who had whispered for help when no one else would listen. Unseen by all, an unmarked van idled down the block, headlights flickering. Someone else had heard Buddy's cry and wasn't about to let him go. The clinic's parking lot glowed under pale security lights as Dr. Patel and her assistant hustled Buddy inside on the stretcher. The lobby, usually so clean and quiet, buzzed with a different urgency tonight. A flurry of quick hands, sharp smells of antiseptic, the low beep of medical machines coming online. Jaime trailed behind, her pulse racing, arms protectively around Ava, who watched every move with wide, worried eyes. Inside the exam room, Dr. Patel and her assistant moved fast. "IV's in. Blood pressure dropping. Get the warming blankets. We're losing him," the assistant muttered, anxiety twisting her voice. Buddy, motionless except for the slow rise and fall of his chest, seemed lost in the chaos. Caught between this world and wherever he'd retreated to survive the hell of abandonment. Jaime stood at the threshold, feeling useless. All she could do was hold Ava and hope. Ava slipped from Jaime's arms before she could stop her, edging toward the table. "Can I touch him?" she whispered, voice trembling. Dr. Patel hesitated, then nodded. "Gently, sweetie. Don't touch the wounds." Ava laid her hand on Buddy's head, stroking between his ears with a feather-light touch. "You're safe now, Buddy. It's okay to rest. We'll take care of you." Something subtle shifted in the room. The dog's breathing, ragged just moments before, eased. For a second, Dr. Patel stared at the monitors. Was it just coincidence? Or did the little girl's presence really calm the animal? Jaime caught the look but said nothing, too focused on the pale figure on the table. Suddenly, the monitor let out a warning beep. Buddy's heart rate spiked. The assistant swore softly. "We're missing something. He's fighting us." Dr. Patel ran her hands over Buddy's fur, checking for more injuries. Her brow furrowed when her fingers brushed a lump behind his right ear. "What's this?" She motioned for her assistant to bring over a portable scanner. The device chirped as she passed it over Buddy's head, then beeped twice, insistent. "There's something here. Not a normal microchip." She pressed deeper, parting the tangled fur. A tiny metallic object gleamed in the harsh light, far too sophisticated for a standard pet chip. Dr. Patel frowned, glancing at Jaime. Looks military grade. I've seen something like this before, years ago working with military K-9s, but nothing like this in a civilian dog. A chill swept through Jaime. She remembered the unmarked van from earlier, the strange sense of being watched. What does that mean? I don't know yet, Dr. Patel said. Right now, we need to stabilize him. As the team worked, Ava never let go of Buddy's paw. Her lips moved, whispering things Jaime couldn't catch. Gentle, rhythmic, soothing. Maybe it was just the innocence of a child, but the effect was real. Buddy's eyes fluttered open, and for the first time since they'd found him, he looked directly at Ava, holding her gaze with deep, liquid brown eyes. Jaime moved to the corner, making herself small, feeling the tension in her shoulders ease just a bit. She texted her ex-husband, then deleted the message before sending it. He wouldn't understand. Maybe no one would. She looked back at Ava, a lump forming in her throat. There had been too many nights of silence. Too many times her daughter withdrew behind a wall she couldn't breach. But here, now, in the fluorescent glow of the clinic, something between Ava and Buddy was bridging the gap. Outside, the night deepened. The clinic's windows looked out on the quiet street. But in that quiet, an SUV rolled slowly past, its headlights off. No one inside the clinic noticed, too focused on the fragile miracle in front of them. Dr. Patel finished cleaning the last of the wounds and checked the monitors again. Vitals are holding steady. He's not out of danger, but he's fighting. She smiled at Ava. That's thanks to you. Ava didn't answer. She just leaned down and whispered, Don't be afraid. We're your family now. Jaime joined them by the table, brushing a hand through Ava's hair. We'll take care of him, together. A sudden commotion at the front desk broke the spell. The clinic's receptionist poked her head in, eyes wide. Doc, there's a man out here asking questions. Says he's with animal control, but he doesn't have a badge. Dr. Patel's face darkened. Tell him the dog is in surgery. No one sees him tonight, not unless it's official. Jaime's gut twisted. That van earlier. Let's keep him in the back, just in case, Dr. Patel said, her voice low. The team moved Buddy to a quiet recovery room, draping extra blankets over him. Jaime pulled Ava into her lap, rocking her gently. Outside, voices argued, then faded as the so-called animal control officer left, unsatisfied. Inside, time moved differently. Jaime drifted in and out of sleep, waking every time Buddy whimpered or Ava stirred. Dr. Patel checked on them regularly, her face pinched with worry and curiosity. Around midnight, Ava finally dozed off in Jaime's arms, her hand resting on Buddy's paw. For the first time, the dog slept without whimpering. Dr. Patel sank into a chair beside them. Whatever that chip is, it's nothing I've ever seen. We'll scan it in the morning. For now, he needs rest. Jaime nodded, grateful for the comfort. She looked down at her daughter, then at the battered animal beside them. They were a strange little pack, wounded, wary, but together in the hush of the night. For a moment, peace settled over the room, but outside the SUV idled a moment longer before finally disappearing into the darkness. Somewhere, someone was watching, waiting. And Jaime, even in the fragile warmth of the clinic, felt the first shadow of fear begin to creep in. But for now they had hope, and a promise spoken softly in a little girl's voice that no one would be left behind. The sun barely crested the Cedar Grove horizon when Dr. Patel returned to the quiet recovery room, steaming coffee in hand. The scent mingled with antiseptic and dog fur, oddly comforting after a night that felt both endless and all too brief. Ava still slept, curled up in Jaime's lap, her small hand intertwined with Buddy's paw. The German shepherd, cocooned in blankets, stirred at the sound of footsteps. His eyes opened, brighter, more alert, but rimmed with exhaustion and fear. Jaime blinked herself awake, shoulders stiff from hours in a plastic chair. She smiled weakly at Dr. Patel. "How's he doing?" Dr. Patel crouched beside Buddy, her professional mask slipping into something gentler. "Honestly, better than I expected. Most dogs wouldn't have survived what he went through." She hesitated, glancing at the spot behind Buddy's ear where the strange chip was hidden. "But there's something odd going on." She set down her coffee and retrieved a portable scanner. "Let's see if we can get more info on that chip." The scanner beeped as she swept it over Buddy's head. This time, the screen flashed an error. Then a line of text. "Project Empathy, classified US military, child canine interface." Dr. Patel's brow furrowed. She pressed a few buttons, but the device locked her out, emitting a shrill tone. Jaime leaned in. "Project Empathy? What the hell is that?" Dr. Patel shook her head. "Nothing I've ever seen before, and I've worked with some pretty advanced animal technology." She pulled her phone, snapping a picture of the display before it disappeared. "Whatever this is, it's not a regular tracking chip." Ava stirred, sitting up and rubbing her eyes. Buddy instantly perked up, his tail thumping the blanket in weak rhythm. She reached out, whispering, "It's okay, Buddy. I'm here." Buddy responded in a way no one expected. He pressed his head against Ava's palm and let out a soft, almost human sigh. The monitors steadied. Jaime and Dr. Patel shared a look, equal parts confusion and awe. Over the next hour, they observed as Ava seemed to understand Buddy's needs before he even moved. When Buddy whimpered, Ava would know if he needed water or if a sharp pain lanced through his side. She'd fetch ice packs, adjust the blankets, or simply sing softly, and the dog would relax. When the vet assistant entered, Buddy stiffened, but with Ava nearby, his anxiety faded. Dr. Patel kept notes, alternating between medical observations and pure disbelief. It's like they're communicating without words." Jaime nodded, watching her daughter bloom with every passing moment. In the last year, Ava had retreated into herself after the upheaval of the divorce and the move. Speech therapy had helped, but nothing had drawn her out like this battered, mysterious dog. Jaime almost didn't care if it made sense. She just knew something real was happening. But Dr. Patel wasn't content with the mystery. She spent her morning calling contacts, old colleagues, researchers, even a friend from her military K-9 days. No one knew anything about Project Empathy. Some calls ended with silence, others with nervous laughter and quick goodbyes. The deeper she dug, the more her unease grew. Late morning, the clinic door chimed, startling everyone. A delivery man in a crisp uniform dropped off a small, unmarked envelope addressed to Dr. Patel. She opened it, heart pounding. A single sheet inside typed, "Stop asking questions. For your safety and the girls, let the dog go." Dr. Patel locked the door behind the courier, her hands shaking as she showed the note to Jaime. "We need to be careful. This isn't normal." Jaime's heart hammered in her chest. She looked at Ava, innocent, humming to Buddy, unaware of the growing storm. "What do we do?" "For now, nothing changes," Dr. Patel said. "We keep Buddy safe, We don't talk to anyone about the chip, not the police, not animal control, no one. She lowered her voice. I'll set up a hidden camera in here just in case. As the day wore on, the connection between Ava and Buddy only grew stronger. By lunchtime, Ava was giggling, full, open laughter that Jaime hadn't heard in ages, as she fed Buddy bits of scrambled egg. Buddy, who hadn't eaten more than a few bites since rescue, wolfed down the meal and nuzzled her in thanks. It wasn't just Ava who changed. The staff, too, started noticing odd things. When Ava was in the room, Buddy's wounds seemed less painful. His breathing steadied. A sense of calm, inexplicable and fragile, filled the space. It was as if the little girl was the key to unlocking something deep within the dog, and vice versa. But there were cracks in the peace. That afternoon, a car parked across the street, engine idling. A man in dark sunglasses watched the clinic, jotting notes on a pad. When Dr. Patel stepped outside to confront him, he drove off without a word. Inside, Jaime caught Ava whispering to Buddy, brow furrowed in concentration. "What is it, sweetheart?" Ava glanced up. "He's scared. He says people are coming, bad people." Jaime forced a smile, but inside her gut twisted. Was it a child's imagination or something more? Had the trauma of the last few days given Ava some kind of sixth sense, or was Buddy truly communicating with her? That evening, with the clinic locked and windows covered, Jaime, Ava, and Dr. Patel huddled in the back room. "We're not alone in this," Dr. Patel said quietly. "Whoever left that note, they're serious. But I'm not giving up, Buddy." Ava snuggled against Buddy, who licked her cheek, sighing again as if he understood every word. Jaime pulled her daughter close, heart torn between fear and wonder. Whatever was happening, whatever secrets hid beneath Buddy's fur, they would face it together. Unseen, the camera in the corner blinked red, recording every moment. Outside, the man with the sunglasses circled the block again. The game had begun, and the stakes were rising. Night fell heavy over Cedar Grove, cloaking the vet clinic in a hush that felt almost sacred. Jaime stood by the window, watching the street below. The man in sunglasses was gone for now, but Jaime's nerves still vibrated with dread. Beside her, Ava and Buddy slept tangled together on a blanket. The little girl's chest rose and fell in perfect time with the dog's, their bond obvious even in dreams. The next morning dawned brittle and gray. Dr. Patel brewed a pot of bitter coffee, glancing over her notes from the night before. Every so often, her eyes darted to the security camera's monitor. Nothing moved outside. But inside, the storm was just beginning to gather. A sharp knock rattled the clinic's front door, jerking Jaime from her uneasy thoughts. Dr. Patel poked her head out of the office. "We're closed today," she called. "It's urgent," a man's voice insisted. "My name is Marcus Walker. I'm a journalist." Jaime and Dr. Patel exchanged wary glances. Jaime's instinct was to send him away, but something in his tone, quiet but intense, the urgency barely hidden, made her hesitate. After a moment, Dr. Patel unlocked the door but left the security chain on. Marcus appeared, lean and slightly disheveled, holding up a press badge. "I'm not here to make trouble. I know about the dog. I know about Project Empathy." The words hung in the air like a threat. Jaime's heart pounded. Dr. Patel opened the door just wide enough for conversation. "What do you want?" "I want the truth," Marcus said, lowering his voice. "And you need to know you're in danger." He handed them a manila folder, its contents stuffed with blurred photos, government memos, and a list of names, some crossed out. "I've been following this for years. The project started as a military experiment to create enhanced teams of children and canines for battlefield conditions. They called it Project Empathy. But it got shut down after a test went wrong. They tried to erase everything: dogs, kids, files. Some of the animals disappeared. One turned up here. Dr. Patel sifted through the folder, her hands shaking. One photo showed a row of children, each holding a German shepherd's leash. Ava's age, Jaime thought, feeling sick. Why children? She managed. Kids connect in ways adults can't. The project used chips, like the one in your dog, to amplify empathy and communication. The military hoped it would create teams that could work together on an almost psychic level. But something happened. Some of the test subjects, human and canine, were traumatized. The program ended in silence and secrecy. Jaime's vision blurred, a wave of guilt and panic washing over her. She thought of Ava, so recently closed off, now blossoming beside Buddy. Had she exposed her child to a threat she couldn't even understand? As if sensing the tension, Ava wandered into the office, Buddy at her side. The dog bristled at the sight of Marcus but stayed close to Ava, eyes watchful and wary. "Who are you?" Ava asked, voice small but steady. Marcus knelt, keeping his hands where Buddy could see them. "Just someone who wants to help. You and your friend are very special, you know that?" Ava nodded, holding Buddy's head protectively. Jaime moved quickly to her daughter's side, wrapping an arm around her. Dr. Patel pressed Marcus for more. "What about the chip? Can we take it out?" Marcus shook his head. "It's embedded deep. Removing it without military equipment could kill the dog. That chip's the reason Buddy found you, and the reason others might come looking." A shadow flickered across the street. An unmarked car parked, engine still running. The tension in the room ratcheted higher. Marcus lowered his voice. "There are people who want this to stay buried. They'll do anything to erase the evidence. Dogs, data, witnesses. That's why you need to leave, now." Jaime's head spun. "Where? We can't just run." "You can't stay here either." Marcus's eyes darted to the windows. "You have to disappear, at least until I can get this out in the open. I'll help. But you need to move fast." Dr. Patel's resolve hardened. "Then we take him and go. I have friends in the mountains, a place no one will find us." Ava's hand trembled on Buddy's neck. "Will they hurt him?" Jaime dropped to her knees, hugging Ava tight. "Not if we can help it, sweetheart. We'll protect Buddy. I promise." Marcus pulled out his phone, already texting instructions to his editor. "I'll leak what I can. The story will go public soon, but you have to keep moving. If they find you before the story breaks..." He didn't finish. He didn't need to. Jaime looked at Dr. Patel, then at her daughter and Buddy. Fear was a storm in her chest, but something stronger was rising too, a fierce resolve. She had made mistakes before, missed signs, let Ava drift too far into silence. Not this time. She would not let her daughter or this animal be taken by shadows. The group sprang into action. Dr. Patel packed medical supplies and records. Marcus gathered the folder and his camera. Jaime found Ava's favorite stuffed animal and a blanket. They moved fast, hearts pounding, checking windows and doors. Every shadow outside felt like an enemy. In the midst of chaos, Ava knelt beside Buddy, burying her face in his fur. "We'll be okay, Buddy. I can feel it. We'll keep each other safe." The adults exchanged glances, part fear, part awe. Whatever had happened in those secret government labs, something good had survived. Empathy. Connection. The thing the project tried to manufacture, now real in the form of a child and her dog. The last light in the clinic went out. They slipped into the night, 4 humans and a battered German shepherd, clinging to hope and each other, determined to survive whatever darkness came next. Outside, in the parked car, a pair of eyes watched. A phone rang. "They're on the move," a cold voice whispered. "Begin extraction." The chase was on. A cold wind swept across Cedar Grove as the sun set, turning the streets an ominous orange. Jaime tightened her grip on the steering wheel, eyes flicking to the rearview mirror every few seconds. Dr. Patel's old SUV was packed with hastily gathered supplies: blankets, canned food, medical kits, files, and most importantly, Buddy curled up in the back beside Ava. Marcus followed in his battered sedan, keeping his headlights off. Every time they turned a corner, Jaime's heart hammered harder. Were those headlights in the distance just regular drivers, or someone hunting them? The world outside felt hostile. Streetlights flickered to life, casting long shadows as they passed abandoned stores and empty playgrounds. Jaime tried to steady her nerves, forcing herself to think 2 steps ahead. Get out of town. Find somewhere isolated. Stay invisible. Buddy whimpered from the back seat, and Ava stroked his fur with trembling hands. "It's okay, Buddy," she whispered, though her eyes were wide with fear. "They won't find us. Not if we're together." Dr. Patel turned, offering a reassuring smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "You're very brave, Ava, and so is Buddy." But her voice was tight, and every so often she glanced at her phone, checking for messages from friends she trusted, people who could hide them in the mountains if it came to that. Behind them, Marcus radioed in. 2 unmarked SUVs just turned onto Main. They're keeping a few car lengths back. Could be a coincidence, but I doubt it. Jaime's breath caught. "How did they find us so fast?" Marcus replied, "They've probably been watching the clinic for days. Government, private contractors, doesn't matter. They want Buddy, and they'll do whatever it takes." A knot of anger twisted in Jaime's gut. "Not while I'm breathing." As the group reached the edge of town, Dr. Patel directed Jaime toward a series of back roads only locals would know, twisting routes through pine thickets and ravines. "Take Pine Hollow Road. There's an old ranger cabin about 20 miles out. We can regroup there." They drove in silence, every headlight a threat, every silhouette in the trees a potential enemy. Buddy pressed himself against Ava, shivering. Through the window, Ava whispered, "He's scared, Mommy. He feels them coming." Jaime tried to sound brave. "He's got us now. We won't let anything happen to him." Behind them, the headlights closed in. Marcus accelerated, slotting his car between the SUVs and Jaime's. For a moment, it worked. The pursuers slowed, trying to gauge Marcus's intentions. But the tension in the convoy was palpable. At any second, it could explode into violence. They turned off the main road and plunged into darkness. Pine branches slapped at the SUV's sides, and the world narrowed to a twisting tunnel of trees. Jaime's knuckles whitened on the wheel. "Almost there," Dr. Patel murmured, as much for herself as anyone. Suddenly, Jaime's phone vibrated, a text from Marcus. "One SUV broke off. Might try to cut us off ahead. Don't stop." Ava whimpered, pressing closer to Buddy, who whined and shuddered as if feeling the danger himself. The dog's ears flicked, muscles taut. Ava squeezed his paw. "Stay with me, Buddy. Just a little longer." The darkness outside thickened. Through the trees, they caught glimpses of headlights snaking along a parallel logging road, moving to intercept. Dr. Patel hissed, "We have to go faster." Jaime pressed the gas. The SUV bounced over potholes, skidding around blind turns. Up ahead, the woods parted, revealing a narrow wooden bridge over a rushing creek. As they hurtled across, Jaime looked back. One of the black SUVs burst through the trees, barreling after them. In the rear car, Marcus shouted over the radio, "Go! I'll slow them down!" Jaime's heart raced as she heard the screech of tires and a sudden crash. Marcus had blocked the road with his own car, forcing the pursuers to a halt. For a split second, she saw him jump out, camera in hand, snapping photos of license plates and faces before diving into the forest. Dr. Patel gripped her shoulder. "Don't look back. We have to keep moving." On the other side of the bridge, Jaime gunned the engine, barreling deeper into the wild. The trees closed in, the only light their high beams cutting through fog and fear. They finally skidded to a stop near an abandoned fire tower, panting, sweating, hearts in their throats. Jaime killed the engine, and they all sat in silence, listening. Only the chirr of insects and the distant babble of water broke the tension. No engines, no footsteps. For now, they were safe. Buddy staggered from the back seat, legs trembling. Dr. Patel knelt and checked his wounds by flashlight. He's holding on, but barely. He needs rest, fluids, and antibiotics. Ava curled up beside Buddy, whispering, "It's over, Buddy. They're gone. We did it." Buddy licked her face, sighing into her lap. Jaime took a deep breath and looked around. The world felt bigger, wilder, and more dangerous than ever before. They were fugitives now, fighting not just for Buddy's life, but for the secret he carried. Dr. Patel's phone buzzed. A single message from Marcus. "I lost them. Get to the cabin. Don't trust anyone." Jaime finally allowed herself to cry. Silent tears in the darkness as she hugged her daughter and their battered, extraordinary dog. Yet somewhere far behind, headlights flickered to life again. Silent, relentless, and closing in. The pursuit was far from over. The first rays of dawn barely pierced the dense pine canopy as Jaime, Dr. Patel, Ava, and Buddy staggered up the final stretch of the mountain road. The old ranger cabin emerged from the fog like a ghost, tucked deep within the forest, a place forgotten by time and, hopefully, by the people chasing them. Jaime killed the engine, heart still thudding from the chase. Her hands shook as she helped Ava out of the SUV, scanning the trees for movement. Nothing but the quiet trill of morning birds and the distant sigh of wind through branches. They'd made it, for now. Inside, the cabin was dark and musty, filled with old maps, a wood stove, and battered cots that smelled of dust and pine resin. Dr. Patel moved quickly, setting up a makeshift clinic on the scarred wooden table. She unwrapped Buddy's bandages, murmuring reassurance as he whimpered and licked Ava's hand. "He's exhausted, but stable. The worst of the bleeding has stopped," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. Jaime barricaded the door and windows with whatever she could find. Old chairs, crates, even a rusted fire extinguisher. "If they come up here, we'll hear them," she said, forcing a confidence she didn't feel. Ava knelt on the floor, arms around Buddy, whispering softly. The connection between girl and dog had only grown stronger in the chaos. Buddy's eyes, glassy with pain, found Ava's, and something like understanding passed between them. Suddenly, Marcus's voice crackled through the burner phone Dr. Patel had brought. "You safe?" His breathing was ragged, voice hoarse. "I ditched the tail, doubled back through the woods. I'm 3 miles out, coming in on foot. Don't open the door unless you hear the password, Sundance." Jaime nodded, clutching the phone. "Hurry, Marcus. I don't know how long we have." They spent the next hour in a tense hush. Dr. Patel administered more antibiotics, fashioning a splint for Buddy's leg with bits of old broom handle and gauze. She glanced at Jaime. He's got spirit. Most dogs would have given up by now. Ava stroked Buddy's fur, humming a tune only he seemed to understand. Every time she touched him, his pain seemed to ease. Dr. Patel watched, a mix of scientific curiosity and awe clouding her features. It's like she's calming his nervous system. I've never seen anything like it. Jaime pressed a kiss to Ava's head. She's always been sensitive, maybe too much for her own good. But right now, it's saving us. Outside, the forest slowly awoke. A woodpecker hammered at a distant trunk, and the air grew heavy with the scent of sap and damp earth. Suddenly, a twig snapped near the tree line. Jaime froze, heart in her throat. But before panic could set in, Marcus called out, "Sundance!" His voice just loud enough to carry. They rushed to the door, letting him in. He was scratched up, sweat-streaked, and wild-eyed. Lost them for now. But they're organized. Military or private, maybe both. They had radios, body armor, and night scopes. We have to assume they'll keep searching until they find us. He slumped onto a cot, pulling out his battered laptop. I'm prepping the files for upload. If I can get a signal, I'll leak everything to the press. Names, experiments, all of it. He looked at Jaime, his face drawn. But if they catch us before it goes live... Jaime nodded grimly. Then we make sure Ava and Buddy are safe. Whatever it takes. As the day wore on, the fugitives settled into a tense routine. Marcus tweaked a shortwave radio, listening for news of roadblocks or helicopter activity. Dr. Patel kept Buddy comfortable, coaxing him to eat. Jaime took turns at the window, shotgun across her knees. Every few hours, Ava would sit with Buddy, her voice gentle and clear. "Don't be afraid. I'm here," she'd say, over and over, until Buddy's breathing slowed and his muscles loosened. More than once, Jaime caught tears in Dr. Patel's eyes. She's healing him, in ways I can't explain. Mid-afternoon, Marcus finally got a weak cellular signal. He began uploading the files, hands shaking as he typed. They'll know soon. Once this hits the wire, we can't stay here. Someone will come, friend or foe. Suddenly, Buddy's ears perked up. He whined, looking toward the window, muscles rigid. Ava tensed too, pressing her hand to the scar behind Buddy's ear. They're close. Bad men. We have to hide. A moment later, the sound of engines rumbled up the mountain road, distant, but drawing nearer. Jaime's adrenaline spiked. We need to move. Now! Dr. Patel scooped up Buddy, cradling his battered frame. Jaime grabbed Ava's hand, while Marcus stuffed his laptop and camera into a pack. They scrambled out the back, ducking into the thick pines as two black SUVs crept into view, crunching gravel under their tires. Men in tactical gear fanned out, weapons drawn, scanning the cabin and surrounding woods. Hidden among the trees, Jaime motioned for silence. Buddy, sensing Ava's fear, stilled completely, ears flat, breath shallow. Ava squeezed her eyes shut, whispering encouragement. Suddenly, one of the men barked orders and began sweeping the forest, dogs on leashes pulling at their handlers. The fugitives crouched low, every nerve stretched taut. For a moment, it seemed inevitable they'd be found. But then Buddy pressed against Ava, looking her in the eye. She nodded, tears streaking her face. Show me, Buddy. Show me where to go. Guided by something deeper than instinct, Buddy led the group through a maze of game trails, slipping between boulders, across a shallow stream, and beneath tangles of fallen logs. The searchers' shouts faded behind them. They hiked for hours, nerves raw, until the sun dipped low and the world glowed gold through the trees. They stopped only when Buddy finally collapsed, too weak to continue. Jaime dropped beside him, hugging Ava fiercely. "You did it, baby. You both did." Marcus set up camp, while Dr. Patel checked Buddy's wounds once more. Exhaustion and awe mingled as the fugitives huddled around their brave, battered dog. Night crept over the mountain, and for now, they were safe again. But Jaime knew the reprieve was only temporary. The hunt would not end until the truth came out. As the stars blinked on above the pines, Ava whispered, "I believe in you, Buddy. I believe in us." And for a brief, perfect moment, hope lit up the dark. As dusk bled into night, the fugitives' makeshift camp became a circle of flickering flashlight beams and whispered fears. Jaime watched the darkness thicken between the trees, every unfamiliar sound setting her nerves on edge. Buddy lay beside Ava, chest rising and falling, eyes darting with every distant crack of a twig. Dr. Patel gently brushed Ava's hair as she tried to coax her into sleep. "We'll keep you both safe," she whispered, though her eyes betrayed her exhaustion. Marcus stayed hunched over his battered laptop, using his phone's hotspot to finish uploading the secret Project Empathy files. He listened for news on the shortwave radio, catching fragments, reports of a missing child, of law enforcement searching the mountains, and of armed individuals sighted near Cedar Grove. The net was closing, and time was running out. Just after midnight, headlights flashed far below on the switchback road. Two black SUVs, dark as oil, crept up the trail, their engines rumbling low and mean. Jaime's pulse hammered in her throat. "They've found us," she breathed. Marcus quickly stashed his gear. "Files are almost up. We need a signal boost, but we're out of time." Dr. Patel gathered supplies, slinging her medical bag over her shoulder. Jaime scooped Ava into her arms. "Buddy, come," she whispered. But Buddy staggered to his feet, ears back, hackles raised, and stared into the night. He sensed what was coming. Danger, intent, violence. His muscles tensed as he nudged Ava, licking her hand as if to say goodbye. In that moment, Ava seemed to understand. She threw her arms around Buddy's neck, tears streaming down her face. "No, Buddy, don't go." Buddy looked at Jaime, then Dr. Patel, then finally at Marcus, who was already scanning the tree line for an escape. Then, as if making a decision, the battered shepherd limped to the edge of the clearing and let out a deep, guttural bark. A challenge, a warning, a distraction. "He's buying us time," Dr. Patel realized, her voice trembling. "He's leading them away." "No," Ava sobbed. "I need him." Jaime crouched down, clutching her daughter, heart torn between gratitude and grief. "He's being brave for us, honey. He wants you safe. We have to trust him." Buddy barked again, louder, then vanished into the underbrush just as the men from the SUVs fanned out with flashlights and guns. Shouts rang out. Dogs barked. Someone fired a shot into the air, and Buddy darted away, leading the pursuers deeper into the forest. "Now," Marcus hissed. "Head for the old ranger station, half a mile northeast. I'll cover the rear." Jaime, Ava, and Dr. Patel ran, hearts pounding, stumbling over roots and rocks, their only guide the pale moon filtering through the canopy. Behind them, Buddy's barking echoed, a desperate, defiant song. The woods crackled with radio chatter and gunfire. The chase was chaos. Men shouting, dogs barking, the crash of bodies moving through brush. Buddy dodged the searchlights, moving as fast as his injuries would allow. He ducked under logs, splashed through a stream, and doubled back. drawing the hunters away from his family. The pain in his leg was excruciating, but he pressed on, driven by a purpose no experiment could ever create: love. Meanwhile, Marcus slowed down, snapped photos, and sent them to his editor. "Come on, just a little more bandwidth," he muttered. The story had to go live. It was their only hope. At last, Jaime and the others burst into the ranger station, a squat, stone building with boarded-up windows. They barricaded the door and pressed their backs against the walls, listening. Dr. Patel cradled Ava, whose body shook with silent sobs. Minutes ticked by, agonizing, endless. Suddenly the burner phone buzzed. Marcus's editor. Files received. Going live. Marcus exhaled in relief. It's out. Project Empathy, everything. They can't bury it now. But joy was short-lived. Ava broke away, hands pressed to her ears. "He's hurt. Buddy's hurt." Outside, a pained howl echoed, a cry so raw and piercing it seemed to split the night itself. Jaime's heart shattered. She ran to the window, eyes searching the tree line. The men returned to their SUVs, shouting into radios. They hadn't caught the fugitives, but neither had Buddy returned. Ava collapsed in Dr. Patel's arms, sobbing. "He saved us. He saved us." Marcus placed a hand on Jaime's shoulder. "We need to wait. If they realize the evidence is out, maybe they'll pull back. For now, we're safe." The ranger station became a sanctuary, a battered fortress filled with sorrow and hope. Jaime held Ava all night, whispering stories of brave dogs and the power of love, though her own faith wavered. As dawn broke, the woods grew silent again. The SUVs disappeared, the searchers retreating as news of the Project Empathy leak hit the national headlines. The truth was out. There would be an investigation. Eyes would turn on Cedar Grove, but the threat was receding. Still, Buddy was gone. Jaime and Ava stood on the ranger station steps, scanning the horizon. "Come home, Buddy," Ava whispered. "Please." In the distance, a bird called and the wind shifted. There was no answer yet. But in her heart, Jaime knew the sacrifice had bought them a chance. And maybe, just maybe, Buddy would find his way home. For now, they waited, clinging to hope and to each other, the memory of Buddy's courage echoing through the morning light. Morning broke over Cedar Grove with a bright, almost surreal hush. For the first time in days, Jaime felt the air shift, an uneasy stillness, as if the whole world was holding its breath. She stood outside the old ranger station, arms wrapped tight around Ava, both of them exhausted and silent, watching sunlight filter through the tall pines. Buddy's absence felt like a physical ache, a missing heartbeat in their fragile circle. Inside, Marcus was already on his phone, his face illuminated by the screen's blue glow. News was breaking nationwide. Headlines about secret government projects, military experiments on children and animals, cover-ups, whistleblowers. The leaked files had gone viral. News trucks gathered on the highway below the mountains, reporters swarming Cedar Grove, hungry for the story. America wanted answers, and for once, the world was listening. Jaime glanced over at Dr. Patel, who hadn't slept. The vet watched Ava with red-rimmed eyes, concern etched deep in her face. "They're safe," she whispered. "No one's coming after us now. Project Empathy is finished." But the relief was bittersweet. In the quiet after chaos, grief for Buddy twisted through Jaime. Every time Ava started to smile, it faded, her gaze drifting to the woods, as if waiting for her friend to reappear. Even the dog's battered blanket, still tucked in the corner of the ranger station, felt like a relic of another life. By late morning, news crews crowded the roads outside town. Satellite vans jammed the signal, the drone of generators competing with birdsong. National media rolled out their own investigations, testimonies from former scientists and military officials, faces blurred and voices altered. One by one, the secrets of Project Empathy were forced into daylight. It turned out Buddy was not the only survivor. In cities across the country, families stepped forward, sharing stories of rescued dogs and children with uncanny bonds. Cases dismissed as fantasy or coincidence, now revealed as echoes of the same experiment. Parents, activists, and animal rights groups demanded justice, their voices swelling into a national reckoning. Late that afternoon, while Jaime did a live interview from the ranger station porch, Ava sat on the steps, hugging her knees, eyes fixed on the tree line. The reporter asked Jaime what it was like to realize her daughter had been swept into a conspiracy. Jaime hesitated, searching for the right words. "It's terrifying," she finally said. "But also, it's a reminder. Our children and our animals are vulnerable to the things we create and the secrets we keep. But sometimes, when we listen, really listen, they show us more courage and kindness than we know how to give." The camera turned to Ava, but she only whispered, "Come home, buddy. Please." Far away, in a clearing half hidden by ferns and wildflowers, a park ranger named Elena Torres found a wounded German shepherd curled beside a fallen log. His fur was filthy, his ribs showing through, and a jagged wound ran along his haunch. But when Elena knelt beside him, Buddy raised his head, eyes pleading but defiant. She recognized him from the news and spoke gently. "Easy, big guy. You're safe now." Elena's call came through to the ranger station, just as evening shadows lengthened. Jaime's heart leapt when she heard the words. "We found him. He's alive but hurt." The relief nearly dropped her to her knees. Dr. Patel scrambled for her bag, while Marcus called in directions. The little convoy sped through the winding roads, hope flaring like sunrise in their chests. When they reached the rangers' camp, Ava broke from the group, running barefoot through the grass. "Buddy!" she cried, voice cracking with hope and fear. Buddy lifted his head, tail thumping weakly. The reunion was almost silent. Ava dropped beside him, arms thrown around his neck, tears soaking his fur. Jaime knelt with them, her own tears falling as she pressed her face into Buddy's side. Dr. Patel worked quickly, cleaning and stitching the wounds, but the dog's gaze never left Ava. Marcus captured every moment, photos and video, the story now personal and real, broadcast to the world. The media frenzy intensified, but this time, the Miller family felt only gratitude. The worst was over. The truth was out. Back in Cedar Grove, the community rallied. Strangers dropped off food and blankets, while the town sheriff promised to watch over them. Buddy became a local hero, his recovery chronicled on every news outlet. Volunteers offered to help other Project Empathy survivors, families whose children and dogs shared the strange, unbreakable connection. Ava changed, too. The girl who had once drifted through life in a silent fog now laughed, told stories, and even played with the other children from the neighborhood. Her bond with Buddy had become a symbol of hope, proof that even broken things could heal, and that the bravest hearts sometimes belonged to those who had suffered most. One evening, with Buddy resting beside her, Ava looked up at Jaime and asked, "Why did they do it, Mom? Why would grown-ups hurt dogs and kids?" Jaime paused, brushing a tear from her cheek. "Sometimes people forget to listen, sweetheart. They want to control everything instead of trusting love and understanding. But you and Buddy showed them something different. You showed them the truth. Ava nodded, cuddling closer to her dog. I don't want to forget. I want to remember Buddy was brave and we helped each other. Jaime hugged her daughter close. Outside, the world was noisy and chaotic, but inside, the little family was finally, beautifully whole. As night fell, Buddy drifted off to sleep, Ava's hand tucked into his fur. In the distance, news vans packed up. The last cameras flickered off, and a hush settled over Cedar Grove. A hush filled with hope, a promise that secrets would not always win, and that sometimes even a lost, battered dog could change the world. The first week after Buddy's return was a blur of hospital visits, phone calls, and neighbors bringing home-cooked casseroles to the Millers' small house on the edge of Cedar Grove. News vans still parked along the road, their crews hoping for another statement or a new twist in the story. But inside, life finally started to slow down. Buddy's recovery became the heart of the household. Dr. Patel visited every morning, checking his stitches, adjusting his medication, and gently massaging his injured leg. Ava was always by Buddy's side, reading him stories and singing softly while he rested his head in her lap. The bond between them had become Cedar Grove's favorite miracle. Everybody wanted to see the little girl who could talk to her dog and the battered German shepherd who'd survived against all odds. The town rallied in ways Jaime had never seen before. Children left hand-drawn cards on the Miller's porch, pictures of Buddy with a superhero cape, of Ava holding his leash, and rainbows arching over the two of them. Parents, some of whom had been skeptical or even dismissive before, now stopped Jaime at the grocery store or on the sidewalk to share their own stories. A son who'd started talking again after the family adopted a rescue dog. A daughter who slept with her golden retriever every night to chase away nightmares. What had started as a terrifying ordeal for the Miller family became the catalyst for healing all across Cedar Grove. One afternoon, the local community center held a gathering for families and their pets, an impromptu Buddy and Ava Day. Dr. Patel brought Buddy, and as he limped into the hall, a cheer erupted. Ava was suddenly surrounded by other kids who wanted to play, to pet Buddy, and to ask her questions about their incredible adventure. For the first time, Jaime saw her daughter not just as the quiet, withdrawn child she'd struggled to reach, but as a leader, a symbol of resilience for an entire town. After the crowd had faded and the hall was nearly empty, a woman approached Jaime. She introduced herself as Mary, a mother whose teenage son had once participated in a government therapy program, one she now realized might have been connected to Project Empathy. Tears welled in her eyes as she described her son's struggles with anxiety, his sudden bond with their rescue dog, and the feeling that no one else understood. "Your story gave us hope," Mary said softly. "We thought we were alone." Jaime hugged her, moved beyond words. All around them, families gathered in small, hopeful circles, talking, laughing, healing together. But it wasn't just Cedar Grove that changed. The Project Empathy revelations had sparked a national movement. Whistleblowers came forward from all over the country, testifying before congressional hearings. Advocates demanded new protections for children and animals used in research. New laws were introduced to ban invasive testing and government cover-ups, and to fund programs that encouraged therapy animals for trauma survivors. Through it all, Ava and Buddy remained at the center of the conversation. They were invited to appear on morning shows, their story featured in magazines and viral social media posts. But Jaime kept their life as private as possible, turning down most requests. "Buddy needs time to heal," she told reporters. "So does Ava." This is about recovery, not just headlines. The deeper healing was quieter, harder to capture on camera. Jaime found herself reflecting on the past months, the fear, the guilt, and the fierce, unbreakable love that had gotten them through. She realized that safety wasn't just a place, but a promise. To protect the vulnerable, to stand up for those who couldn't speak for themselves. One evening, sitting on the porch with Dr. Patel and Marcus as the sun dipped low behind the pines, Jaime found herself truly exhaling for the first time in months. The conversation drifted from legal updates to stories of growing up in Cedar Grove, to dreams for the future. Marcus, whose reporting had changed the national conversation, looked at Ava and Buddy playing in the yard. "You know, I've covered wars, disasters, scandals, but I've never seen anything like this. A whole town learning to heal together." Dr. Patel nodded, sipping her tea. "Empathy bridges every gap, even the ones we can't see. Between species, between people, between pain and hope." Jaime thought about the lesson they'd all learned. True empathy wasn't just an experiment or a government project. It was what happened when you really listened, when you let someone else's pain matter as much as your own. It was what gave Ava her voice back, what let Buddy trust humans again, and what turned a town full of strangers into a community. As twilight deepened, Ava came running to the porch, Buddy limping behind but tail wagging. "Mom, Buddy wants to chase fireflies. Can I go with him?" Jaime laughed, feeling joy rise in her chest. "Go on, sweetheart. Just don't let him eat any." The night was filled with laughter. The laughter of children, of families, of a dog who had almost been lost but had come home. It was the laughter of a town that had faced the darkness and chosen to reach for the light. Together. In her heart, Jaime understood. They would never be the same. But that was the greatest gift of all. Out of fear and trauma had come healing and connection. And the story of a girl and her dog had shown everyone that the bravest thing you can do is to care. For yourself, for others, for the silent and the lost. As stars bloomed overhead, Ava and Buddy danced through the grass, and Jaime whispered a thank you to the universe. For second chances, for forgiveness, and for the kind of love that could change the world, one act of empathy at a time. The warm blush of sunset spilled across the Miller backyard, bathing the grass in gold. Jamie sat on the back porch, the evening breeze playing with a strand of hair that had escaped her ponytail. She watched Ava and Buddy run circles beneath the maple tree, the little girl's laughter rising bright and wild through the soft air, Buddy's tail wagging in unrestrained joy. It had been months since the world first learned about Project Empathy. So much had changed. Jaime could barely recognize the woman she'd been before all this began. Worn down, anxious, always searching for a sign that her daughter would come back to her. Now, peace was beginning to take root, delicate and determined. Like the wildflowers that had sprung up around the old fence, news coverage had faded, replaced by new scandals and other stories. But for Cedar Grove, for the families who'd been touched by the truth, the impact endured. New support groups met weekly at the community center, pairing children with therapy dogs and retired service animals. People stopped Jaime on the street, not to ask about the headlines, but to thank her for her courage, for sharing their story, for reminding the town what empathy really looked like. Even the government, under the pressure of public outrage and heartfelt testimonials, had enacted real change. New laws protected children and animals from experimental research, and funding poured into trauma support programs across the country. Schools hired counselors, shelters filled with volunteers. It wasn't perfect. Not every wound could be erased. But a shift had begun. The world felt a little safer, a little softer. Jaime looked over at the old camcorder balanced on a flower pot. Tonight, she'd promised Ava they'd make a memory video, a way to capture not just their story, but the feeling of it, the lesson it carried. She pressed the record button and took a steadying breath. The camera's little red light blinked to life. Jaime smiled, letting her words come naturally, soft and true. Hi everyone, I'm Jaime Miller, and this is my daughter Ava, and that's Buddy, our miracle dog. If you're watching this, maybe you've followed our story. Maybe you're just someone who loves animals, or who's gone through something hard and needed hope. She paused, the dusk deepening around her, fireflies sparking along the hedge. For us, this isn't just about what happened with Project Empathy, or about the danger we faced. It's about the power of kindness, of listening to those who can't speak for themselves. Buddy came into our lives when we needed him most, and Ava found her voice again because she loved him enough to listen. Ava came bounding up, cheeks flushed, hair wild, Buddy trotting after her with a squeaky toy dangling from his mouth. Can I say something, Mom? Jaime laughed and held the camera steady. Go ahead, baby. Ava knelt beside Buddy, wrapping her arms around his neck. If you have a dog or a cat, or any friend who can't talk like people do, listen to them. They have feelings too. And if you ever feel lonely, remember, there's always someone who understands. You just have to be brave enough to love. For a moment, the only sound was the steady hum of summer insects and Buddy's quiet breathing. Jaime wiped a tear from her cheek, feeling the emotion ripple out. Grief, gratitude, pride, and a bone-deep sense of relief. They had survived, and not only survived, they had healed together. Marcus and Dr. Patel arrived, drawn by the promise of lemonade and one last interview for the local news. They sat together in the fading light, Buddy sprawled at their feet, head on Ava's knee. Conversation drifted from politics to memories to dreams. Marcus, ever the journalist, set his notepad aside. What would you want other families to know, Jaime? He asked quietly. Jaime thought for a moment. That even if you feel small, your choices matter. The world can be scary, but one act of compassion, one moment where you stand up for what's right, can ripple out and change things for the better. Don't be afraid to speak up or to listen when it's hard. Dr. Patel added, and take care of each other. We all need it. Dogs, kids, adults. No one gets through life alone. The group fell into a contented silence. Distantly, children's voices floated from a neighbor's yard, mingling with Buddy's happy yawn. The weight of the past months lifted, replaced by the quiet certainty that, whatever happened next, they could face it, together. As darkness settled in, Jaime turned the camera for a final shot. Ava and Buddy raced across the yard, fireflies swirling around them like tiny lanterns. Their laughter, one clear and ringing, one silent and exuberant, blended with the song of crickets and the gentle wind in the trees. Jaime's voice, gentle and hopeful, became the last word on the video. If this story touched you, maybe share it with someone you care about. Give your friends, human or animal, a hug tonight. And remember, every act of kindness, every brave voice, makes the world just a little bit safer for those who can't protect themselves. That's all any of us can do. She set down the camera, blinking back tears, and walked into the yard. The day was gone, but a new one waited just over the horizon. Ava hugged Buddy, their silhouettes framed by the golden porch light. In that moment, as summer drifted on and hope grew quietly around them, the world felt wide open, full of promise, second chances, and the kind of love that echoed through every concrete wall and silent night, waiting for someone, anyone, to answer.